Rug pulls are one of the most common scams in crypto. Despite how different every project looks on the surface, almost all of them follow the same underlying structure. This video breaks down exactly how that structure works, stage by stage. From the moment a scam token is built to the moment investigators finally catch up to the money, and what to check so you're never part of the losses. It begins with something that, on paper, looks identical to a legitimate project. A name, a logo, and a website that can be assembled in a single weekend, using templates anyone can download. The team section typically features headshots pulled from stock photo sites, the same handful of faces recycled across dozens of unrelated scam projects. Many of these sites also feature an audited by badge that links to nothing at all. It isn't there to be verified. It's there to be seen and trusted at a glance. The part that actually matters is buried inside the token's smart contract, and it's the part almost no one checks. A legitimate token locks its total supply the moment it's deployed. No one, including the creator, can quietly generate more of it later. Scam contracts frequently include a hidden function that does exactly the opposite. A mint function that lets one wallet create unlimited new tokens on demand, or a function that quietly blocks ordinary holders from selling while the creator's own wallet stays exempt. This second version has a name in the industry: a honeypot contract. Buyers can get in freely, but the exit is deliberately sealed for everyone except the person who built it. In many documented cases, the creator's wallet holds somewhere close to 90% of the total supply from the very start. The remainder gets labeled under vague terms like community allocation or marketing. That obscures just how concentrated ownership really is. At this stage, the token exists, but almost no one knows it does yet. The mechanism for the eventual theft is already built into the code. It just hasn't been triggered. Level 2, the hype machine. A contract with no audience is worthless to the people running the scheme. It needs buyers quickly, before anyone examines the code closely enough to notice what's hidden inside it. That urgency is why the hype phase typically moves fast, often within hours of deployment. A Discord server and a Telegram channel go live first. Both are seeded with a handful of fake accounts designed to make the space look active before any real users arrive. Bot networks are frequently used to inflate the visible member count into the thousands within the first day. A large number is itself a form of social proof that draws in real people. From there, small paid promotions do most of the work. Micro-influencers with tens of thousands of followers and no real reputation at stake will shill almost anything, sometimes for a flat fee as little as a couple $100s. They call an unknown token the next 100x to audiences who have no idea they're watching a paid advertisement. Another common tactic is a fabricated partnership announcement. A logo borrowed from a real recognizable company posted with just enough polish that almost no one clicks through to verify it. It typically isn't real. Trading volume itself can also be faked through a technique called wash trading. The same wallet, or a small group of coordinated wallets, buying and selling the token back and forth. This inflates the volume figures that trading platforms display. It makes the token look far more actively traded than it actually is. These posts and trades tend to cluster during peak scrolling hours, commonly first thing in the morning. That's when attention is highest and scrutiny is lowest. As real users start joining and asking legitimate questions, anonymous moderators answer them directly. They operate under invented names and often assure the community that an audit is coming soon. That phrase shows up in the history of an enormous number of scam projects, almost always right before there ends up being no audit at all. Within the first hour, it's common for hundreds of real people to be active inside a community, built entirely around a contract that only a handful of them have actually read. Level 3, the liquidity pool. To understand how the actual theft works, you first need to understand one concept. It's the one thing nearly every rug pull explainer skips over: the liquidity pool. A brand new token has no inherent value. There's nothing to trade it for until something changes that. So the creator deposits two assets into a shared pool on a decentralized exchange. Some of the new token, paired with a real asset like ETH or a stablecoin. The exchange calculates the token's price using a simple formula. As one side of the pool goes up, the other side goes down proportionally. That keeps their combined value in balance. Buy pressure pushes the token's side down relative to the real asset, which is what makes the price rise. It's a purely mechanical calculation, with no order book and no human setting the price directly. From that point forward, buyers aren't paying the creator directly. They're depositing real money into that pool. The formula determines how many tokens they receive in exchange. That pool is the only thing giving the token a price at all. Whoever deposited it retains full control over it, unless a specific safeguard has been put in place. Legitimate projects typically lock their liquidity through a separate smart contract the moment the pool is created. That makes it mathematically impossible to withdraw those funds for a fixed period, often months or years. Some go further and permanently burn the liquidity provider tokens that represent ownership of the pool. That's an even stronger signal than a time-locked contract. Some scam projects fake this step too, publicly renouncing ownership of the token contract to appear safe. They leave a separate, unrelated function elsewhere in the code that still allows the liquidity to be pulled. Renouncing ownership is a real safeguard when it's the only privileged function in the contract, but it means nothing if a second, quieter mechanism was built to bypass it. In the majority of documented rug pulls, no genuine lock ever existed. The overwhelming majority of buyers never checked this single detail, whether liquidity is locked or burned, and for how long. It's a more reliable signal than a white paper, a roadmap, or a logo. Level 4, the pull. Everything up to this point is preparation. The theft itself typically takes less than a minute. The price is still climbing. New buyers are still depositing funds into the pool. Then the creator's wallet sends a single transaction, withdraw all liquidity. Every dollar ever deposited into that pool, from the very first buyer to the most recent one. All of it transfers directly into that wallet in one transaction. This isn't a hack in the technical sense. Nothing is exploited or broken into. The funds are withdrawn using a permission that existed in the contract from the moment it was deployed. The token's price doesn't gradually fall. It collapses to functionally zero in the same instant. The pool that gave it value no longer contains any real assets to trade against. In honeypot-style rug pulls, the mechanism looks slightly different but ends the same way. Instead of pulling the pool directly, the contract flips a switch that blocks every wallet except the creators from selling at all. The creator sells freely into the panic. Every other wallet still holding the token shows an unchanged balance on screen, but that balance is no longer backed by anything. There's no liquidity left to sell into, and no buyer on the other side of the trade. Automated trading bots that monitor the blockchain sometimes detect the liquidity removal within the same block it happens. By then, there's nothing left to front run. The value is already gone. This is the moment most rug pull victims first realize what's happened, often within seconds of the transaction being broadcast to the blockchain. Level 5, the money trail. Once the funds are pulled, the priority shifts immediately to making them difficult to trace. Rather than sitting in one wallet, stolen funds are typically split within minutes across dozens of smaller wallets. Each one holds an amount deliberately calculated to avoid triggering automated monitoring on exchanges. From there, a significant portion is often routed through a mixing service, a tool that pulls funds from thousands of unrelated transactions and redistributes them in different amounts and orders. It obscures the direct link between the original theft and the fund's eventual destination. In many cases, funds are also moved across multiple blockchains using cross-chain bridges. Sometimes they're converted temporarily into privacy-focused cryptocurrencies, designed specifically to obscure transaction history. The end goal is almost always the same: converting the funds into spendable cash or a stable asset. This usually happens through an exchange with minimal identity verification requirements, sometimes operating in jurisdictions with limited regulatory oversight. This entire process is often completed within hours, well before most victims have had time to process what occurred, let alone report it anywhere. Level 6, the hunt. Despite how deliberate this laundering process is, none of it is actually hidden. Every transaction on a public blockchain remains permanently visible to anyone who knows how to analyze it. This is the basis of an entire field, on-chain investigation. Analysts and blockchain forensics firms spend their time mapping wallet clusters and flagging mixer deposits. They also track cross-chain movement using software that groups related addresses together based on shared transaction patterns. They're looking for one specific point of failure. That point of failure is almost always the same. At some stage, the funds have to touch a regulated exchange to become usable as cash. That single transaction ties the funds to a verified identity behind an account. Once that link is found, investigators can work with the exchange itself, and in some cases with law enforcement. They freeze remaining funds where they can. In a growing number of cases, they identify the individual behind the wallet. Investigators may spend months, or in some cases years, waiting for that link to surface. They cross-reference old usernames, wallet addresses, and even small mistakes made months earlier, sometimes in completely unrelated projects by the same operator. Not every case is solved. A significant share of rug pull operators are never identified, but a growing number are. Through exactly this kind of patient, public, methodical analysis, not a leak, not a lucky break. Level 7, how to spot one. Understanding this pattern is the most effective way to avoid becoming part of it. Here's what to check in order of importance before investing in any new token. First, confirm whether the liquidity pool is locked or burned and for how long. This is verifiable in under a minute using any pool locking service. Second, check the contract itself for a mint function or a selling restriction. A free contract scanner catches both of these instantly. Both can also hide behind a contract that otherwise claims to have renounced ownership. Third, look at how concentrated the token supply is. A small number of wallets holding a large share of the total supply is one of the strongest indicators of risk. That's true regardless of what the project's marketing claims about community ownership. Fourth, compare the trading volume to the number of holders. Unusually high volume relative to a small holder count is a common sign of wash trading. Fifth, consider whether the team is verifiably real with a track record that predates this project, or whether they're entirely anonymous with nothing to check. And finally, the single most reliable warning sign of all is the primary reason to buy urgency itself, a countdown clock, or a community pushing you to act before you have time to check any of the above. This pattern accounts for a large share of the losses in the crypto space every year, and it is, in nearly every case, avoidable by anyone who knows what to look for first. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially at the final level. Subscribe for the next journey, leave your ideas in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.